Rune 16 of the Kalevala. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Kalevala, compiled by Elias Lönnrot. Translated by John Martin Crawford. Rune 16. Wainamoinen's boat building. Wainamoinen, ancient minstrel, the eternal wisdom singer, for his boat was working lumber, working long upon his vessel, on a fog point jutting seaward, on an island, forest covered. But the lumber failed the master, beams were wanting for his vessel, beams and scantling, ribs and flooring. Who will find for him the lumber, who procure the timber needed for the boat of Wainamoinen, for the bottom of his vessel? Pellerwoinen of the prairies, Sampsa, slender grown and ancient, he will seek the needful timber, he procure the beams of oak wood for the boat of Wainamoinen, for the bottom of his vessel. Soon he starts upon his journey to the eastern fields and forests, hunts throughout the Northland mountain, to a second mountain wanders. To a third he hastens, searching, golden axe upon his shoulder, in his hand a copper hatchet. Comes an aspen tree to meet him, of the height of 7 fathoms. Sampsa takes his axe of copper, starts to fell the stately aspen, but the aspen, quickly halting, speaks these words to Pellerwoinen. Tell me, hero, what thou wishest, what the service thou art needing. Sampsa Pellerwoinen answers, this indeed, the needed service that I ask of thee, O aspen. Need thy lumber for a vessel, for the boat of Wainamoinen, wisest of the wisdom singers. Quick and wisely speaks the aspen, thus its 100 branches answer. All the boats that have been fashioned from my wood have proved but failures. Such a vessel floats a distance, then it sinks upon the bottom of the waters it should travel. All my trunk is filled with hollows. 3 times in the summer seasons worms devour my stem and branches, feed upon my heart and tissues. Pellerwoinen leaves the aspen, hunts again through all the forest, wanders through the woods of Northland, where a pine tree comes to meet him, of the height of 14 fathoms. With his axe he chops the pine tree, strikes it with his axe of copper, as he asks the pine this question: will thy trunk give worthy timber for the boat of Wainamoinen, wisest of the wisdom singers? Loudly does the pine tree answer, all the ships that have been fashioned from my body are unworthy. I am full of imperfections, cannot give thee needed timber wherewithal to build thy vessel. Ravens live within my branches, build their nests and hatch their younglings 3 times in my trunk in summer. Sampsa leaves the lofty pine tree, wanders onward, 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 to the woods of gladsome summer, where an oak tree comes to meet him, in circumference 3 fathoms. And the oak he thus addresses: ancient oak tree, will thy body furnish wood to build a vessel, build a boat for Wainamoinen, master boat for the magician, wisest of the wisdom singers? Thus the oak replies to Sampsa: I for thee will gladly furnish wood to build the hero's vessel. I am tall and sound and hardy, have no flaws within my body. 3 times in the months of summer, in the warmest of the seasons, does the sun dwell in my tree-top. On my trunk the moonlight glimmers, in my branches sings the cuckoo, in my top her nestlings slumber. Now the ancient Pellerwoinen takes the hatchet from his shoulder, takes his axe with copper handle, chops the body of the oak tree. Well he knows the art of chopping. Soon he fells the tree majestic, fells the mighty forest monarch with his magic axe and power. From the stems he lops the branches, splits the trunk in many pieces, fashions lumber for the bottom, countless boards and ribs and braces for the singer's magic vessel, for the boat of the magician. Wainamoinen, old and skillful, the eternal wonder-worker, builds his vessel with enchantment, builds his boat by art of magic. From the timber of the oak tree, from its posts and planks and flooring, sings a song and joins the framework, sings a second, sets the siding, sings a 3rd time, sets the rowlocks, fashions oars and ribs and rudder, joins the sides and ribs together. When the ribs were firmly fastened, when the sides were tightly jointed, Then, alas, 3 words were wanting, lost the words of Master Magic, how to fasten in the ledges, how the stern should be completed, how complete the boat's forecastle. Then the ancient Wainamoinen, wise and wonderful enchanter, heavy-hearted, spake as follows: "Woe is me, my life hard-fated! Never will this magic vessel pass in safety o'er the water, never ride the rough sea billows." Then he thought and long considered where to find these words of magic, find the lost words of the Master. From the brains of countless swallows, from the heads of swans in dying, from the plumage of the grey duck. For these words the hero searches, kills of swans a goodly number, kills a flock of fattened grey duck, kills of swallows countless numbers, cannot find the words of magic, not the lost words of the Master. Wainamoinen, wisdom singer, still reflected and debated. I perchance may find the lost words on the tongue of summer reindeer, in the mouth of the white squirrel. Now again he hunts the lost words, hastes to find the magic sayings, kills a countless host of reindeer, kills a rafter full of squirrels, finds of words a goodly number, but they are of little value, cannot find the magic lost word. Long he thought and well considered. I can find of words 100 in the dwellings of Tuoni, in the Manala fields and castles. Wainamoinen quickly journeys to the kingdom of Tuoni, there to find the ancient wisdom, there to learn the secret doctrine. Hastens on through fen and forest, over meads and over marshes, through the ever-rising woodlands, journeys 1 week through the brambles, and a second through the hazels, through the junipers the 3rd week, when appear Tuoni's islands and the Manala fields and castles. Wainamoinen, brave and ancient, calls aloud in tones of thunder to the Tuonela deeps and dungeons, and to Manala's magic castle. Bring a boat, Tuoni's daughter, bring a ferry boat, O maiden, that may bear me o'er this channel, o'er this black and fatal river. Quick the daughter of Tuoni, magic maid of little stature, tiny virgin of Manala, tiny washer of the linen, tiny cleaner of the dresses, at the river of Tuoni in Manala's ancient castles, speaks these words to Wainamoinen, gives this answer to his calling: "Straightway will I bring the rowboat, when the reasons thou hast given why thou comest to Manala in a hale and active body." Wainamoinen, old and artful, gives this answer to the maiden: "I was brought here by Tuoni, Mana raised me from the coffin." Speaks the maiden of Manala: "This a tale of wretched liars. Had Tuoni brought thee hither, Mana raised thee from the coffin, then Tuoni would be with thee. Manalainen too would lead thee, with Tuoni's hat upon thee, on thy hands the gloves of Mana. Tell the truth now, Wainamoinen, what has brought thee to Manala?" Wainamoinen, artful hero, gives this answer, still finessing: "Iron brought me to Manala, to the kingdom of Tuoni." Speaks the virgin of the Deathland, Mana's wise and tiny daughter: "Well I know that this is falsehood. Had the iron brought thee hither, brought thee to Tuoni's kingdom, blood would trickle from thy vesture, and the blood drops scarlet-colored. Speak the truth now, Wainamoinen, this is the 3rd time that I ask thee." Wainamoinen, little heeding, still finesses to the daughter: "Water brought me to Manala, to the kingdom of Tuoni." This the tiny maiden's answer: "Well I know thou speakest falsely. If the waters of Manala, if the cataract and whirlpool, or the waves had brought thee hither, from thy robes the drops would trickle, water drip from all thy raiment. Tell the truth, and I will serve thee. What has brought thee to Manala?" Then the willful Wainamoinen told this falsehood to the maiden: "Fire has brought me to Manala, to the kingdom of Tuoni." Spake again Tuoni's daughter: "Well I know the voice of falsehood. If the fire had brought thee hither, brought thee to Tuoni's empire, singed would be thy locks and eyebrows, and thy beard be crisped and tangled. O thou foolish Wainamoinen, if I row thee o'er the ferry, thou must speak the truth in answer. This is the last time I will ask thee. Make an end of thy deception. What has brought thee to Manala? still unharmed by pain or sickness, still untouched by death's dark angel, spake the ancient Wainamoinen. At the first I spake not truly, now I give thee rightful answer. I a boat with ancient wisdom fashioned with my powers of magic, sang one day and then a second, sang the third day until evening, when I broke the magic mainspring, broke my magic sledge in pieces, of my song the fleetest runners. Then I come to Mana's kingdom, came to borrow here a hatchet, thus to mend my sledge of magic, thus to join the parts together, send the boat now quickly over, send me quick, Tuoni's rowboat, help me cross this fatal river, cross the channel of Manala. Spake the daughter of Tuoni, Mana's maiden, thus replying, Thou art sure a stupid fellow, foresight wanting, judgment lacking, having neither wit nor wisdom, coming here without a reason, coming to Tuoni's empire. Better far if thou shouldst journey to thy distant home and kindred. Man, they that visit Mana, few return from Maria's kingdom. Spake the good old Wainamoinen, women old retreat from danger, not a man of any courage, not the weakest of the heroes. Bring thy boat, Tuoni's daughter, tiny maiden of Manala, come and row me o'er the ferry. Mana's daughter does as bidden, brings her boat to Wainamoinen, quickly rows him through the channel, o'er the black and fatal river, to the kingdom of Manala, speaks these words to the magician. Woe to thee, O Wainamoinen! Wonderful indeed thy magic, since thou comest to Manala, comest neither dead nor dying. Tuonetar, the Deathland hostess, ancient hostess of Tuoni, brings him pitchers filled with strong beer, fills her massive golden goblets, speaks these measures to the stranger. Drink, thou ancient Wainamoinen, drink the beer of King Tuoni. Wainamoinen, wise and cautious, carefully inspects the liquor, looks a long time in the pitchers, sees the spawning of the black frogs, sees the young of poisoned serpents, lizards, worms, and writhing adders, thus addresses Tuonetar. Have not come with this intention, have not come to drink thy poisons, drink the beer of Tuonela. Those that drink Tuoni's liquors, those that sip the cups of Mana, court the devil and destruction, end their lives in want and ruin. Tuonetar makes this answer, Ancient minstrel Wainamoinen, tell me what has brought thee hither, brought thee to the realm of Mana, to the courts of Tuonela, ere Tuoni sent his angels to thy home in Kalevala, there to cut thy magic life-thread. Spake the singer Wainamoinen, I was building me a vessel, at my craft was working, singing, needed 3 words of the master, how to fasten in the ledges, how the stern should be completed, how complete the boat's forecastle. This the reason of my coming to the empire of Tuoni, to the castles of Manala, came to learn these magic sayings, learn the lost words of the master. Spake the hostess Tuonetar, Mana never gives these sayings, canst not learn them from Tuoni, not the lost words of the master. Thou shalt never leave this kingdom, never in thy magic lifetime, never go to Kalevala, to Wainola's peaceful meadows, to thy distant home and country. Quick the hostess Tuonetar waves her magic wand of slumber o'er the head of Wainamoinen, puts to rest the wisdom hero, lays him on the couch of Mana, in the robes of living heroes, deep the sleep that settles o'er him. In Manala lived a woman in the kingdom of Tuoni, evil witch and toothless wizard, spinner of the threads of iron, moulder of the bands of copper, weaver of 100 fish nets, of 1,000 nets of copper, spinning in the days of summer, weaving in the winter evenings, seated on a rock in water. In the kingdom of Tuoni lived a man, a wicked wizard, 3 the fingers of the hero, spinner he of iron meshes, maker too of nets of copper, countless were his nets of metal, moulded on a rock in water. Through the many days of summer, Mana's son with crooked fingers, iron-pointed, copper fingers, pulls of nets, at least 1,000 through the river of Tuoni, sets them lengthwise, sets them crosswise in the fatal darksome river, that the sleeping Wainamoinen, friend and brother of the waters, may not leave the isle of Mana, never in the course of ages, never leave the Deathland castles, never while the moonlight glimmers on the empire of Tuoni. Wainamoinen, wise and wary, rising from his couch of slumber, speaks these words as he is waking. Is there not some mischief brewing? Am I not at last in danger in the chambers of Tuoni, in the Manala home and household? Quick he changes his complexion, changes too his form and feature, slips into another body, like a serpent in a circle, rolls black dyed upon the waters. Like a snake among the willows, crawls he like a worm of magic, like an adder through the grasses, through the coal-black stream of Deathland, through 1,000 nets of copper interlaced with threads of iron, from the kingdom of Tuoni, from the castles of Manala. Mana's son, the wicked wizard, with his iron-pointed fingers, in the early morning hastens to his 1,000 nets of copper, set within the Tuoni river, finds therein a countless number of the death-stream fish and serpents. Does not find old Wainamoinen, wise and wary, friend and fellow of the waters. When the wonder-working hero had escaped from Tuonela, spake he thus in supplication: "Gratitude to thee, O Ukko, do I bring for thy protection. Never suffer other heroes, of thy heroes not the wisest, to transgress the laws of nature. Never let another singer, while he lives within the body, cross the river of Tuoni, as thou lovest thy creations. Many heroes cross the channel, cross the fatal stream of Mana, few return to tell the story, few return from Tuonela, from Manala's courts and castles." Wainamoinen calls his people on the plains of Kalevala, speaks these words of ancient wisdom, to the young men, to the maidens, to the rising generation: "Every child of Northland, listen, if thou wishest joy eternal, never disobey thy parents, never evil treat the guiltless, never wrong the feeble-minded, never harm thy weakest fellow, never stain thy lips with falsehood, never cheat thy trusting neighbor, never injure thy companion, lest thou surely payest penance in the kingdom of Tuoni, in the prison of Manala. There the home of all the wicked, there the couch of the unworthy, there the chambers of the guilty. Underneath Manala's fire rock are their ever-flaming couches, for their pillows hissing serpents, vipers green their writhing covers, for their drink the blood of adders, for their food the pangs of hunger, pain and agony their solace. If thou wishest joy eternal, shun the kingdom of Tuoni." End of Rune 16. Rune 17 of the Kalevala. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Kalevala, compiled by Elias Lönnrot. Translated by John Martin Crawford. Rune 17. Wainamoinen finds the lost word. Wainamoinen, old and truthful, did not learn the words of magic in Tuoni's gloomy regions, in the kingdom of Manala. Thereupon he long debated, well considered, long reflected, where to find the magic sayings, when a shepherd came to meet him, speaking thus to Wainamoinen: "Thou canst find of words 100, find 1,000 wisdom sayings, in the mouth of wise Wipunen, in the body of the hero. To the spot I know the footpath, to his tomb the magic highway, trodden by a host of heroes. Long the distance thou must travel on the sharpened points of needles. Then a long way thou must journey on the edges of the broadswords. Thirdly, thou must travel farther on the edges of the hatchets." Wainamoinen, old and trustful, well considered all these journeys, travelled to the forge and smithy, thus addressed the metal worker: "Ilmarinen, worthy blacksmith, make a shoe for me of iron, forge me gloves of burnished copper, mold a staff of strongest metal, lay the steel upon the inside, forge within the might of magic. I am going on a journey to procure the magic sayings, find the lost words of the master, from the mouth of the magician, from the tongue of wise Wipunen." Spake the artist Ilmarinen: "Long ago died wise Wipunen, disappeared these many ages, lays no more his snares of copper, sets no longer traps of iron, cannot learn from him the wisdom, cannot find in him the lost words." Wainamoinen, old and hopeful, little heeding, not discouraged, in his metal shoes and armor, hastens forward on his journey, runs the first day fleetly onward on the sharpened points of needles. Wearily he strides the second, on the edges of the broadswords swings himself the third day forward, on the edges of the hatchets. Wise Wipunen, wisdom singer, ancient bard and great magician, with his magic songs lay yonder. Stretched beside him lay his sayings, on his shoulder grew the aspen, on each temple grew the birch tree, on his mighty chin the alder, from his beard grew willow bushes, from his mouth the dark green fir tree, and the oak tree from his forehead. Wainamoinen, coming closer, draws his sword, lays bare his hatchet from his magic leathern scabbard, fells the aspen from his shoulder, fells the birch tree from his temples, from his chin he fells the alder, from his beard the branching willows, from his mouth the dark green fir tree, fells the oak tree from his forehead. Now he thrusts his staff of iron through the mouth of wise Wipunen, pries his mighty jaws asunder, speaks these words of master magic. Rise, thou master of magicians, from the sleep of Tuonela, from thine everlasting slumber. Wise Wipunen, ancient singer, quickly wakens from his sleeping, keenly feels the pangs of torture from the cruel staff of iron, bites with mighty force the metal, bites in twain the softer iron, cannot bite the steel asunder, opens wide his mouth in anguish. Wainamoinen of Wainola, in his iron shoes and armor, careless walking, headlong stumbles in the spacious mouth and fauces of the magic bard Wipunen. Wise Wipunen, full of song charms, opens wide his mouth and swallows Wainamoinen and his magic, shoes and staff and iron armor. Then out speaks the wise Wipunen: "Many things before I've eaten, dined on goat and sheep and reindeer, bear and ox and wolf and wild boar. Never in my recollection have I tasted sweeter morsels." Spake the ancient Wainamoinen: "Now I see the evil symbols, see misfortune hanging o'er me, in the darksome Hisi hurdles, in the catacombs of Kalma." Wainamoinen long considered how to live and how to prosper, how to conquer this condition. In his belt he wore a poniard, with a handle hewn from birchwood. From the handle builds a vessel, builds a boat through magic science. In this vessel rose he swiftly through the entrails of the hero, rose through every gland and vessel of the wisest of magicians. Old Wipunen, master singer, barely feels the hero's presence, gives no heed to Wainamoinen. Then the artist of Wainola straightway sets himself to forging, sets at work to hammer metals, makes a smithy from his armor, of his sleeves he makes the bellows, makes the air valve from his fur coat, from his stockings makes the muzzle, uses knees instead of anvil, makes a hammer of his forearm. Like the storm wind roars the bellows, like the thunder rings the anvil. Forges one day, then a second, forges till the third day closes, in the body of Wipunen, in the sorcerer's abdomen. Old Wipunen, full of magic, speaks these words in wonder, guessing: "Who art thou of ancient heroes, who of all the host of heroes? Many heroes I have eaten, and of men a countless number have not eaten such as thou art. Smoke arises from my nostrils, from my mouth the fire is streaming, in my throat are iron clinkers. Go, thou monster, hence to wander, flee this place, thou plague of Northland. Ere I go to seek thy mother, tell the ancient dame thy mischief. She shall bear thine evil conduct, great the burden she shall carry, great a mother's pain and anguish, when her child runs wild and lawless, cannot comprehend the meaning, nor this mystery unravel, why thou camest here, O monster, camest here to give me torture. Art thou Hisi sent from heaven, some calamity from Ukko? Art perchance some new creation, ordered here to do me evil? If thou art some evil genius, some calamity from Ukko, sent to me by my Creator, then am I resigned to suffer. God does not forsake the worthy, does not ruin those that trust him, never are the good forsaken. If by man thou wert created, if some hero sent thee hither, I shall learn thy race of evil, shall destroy thy wicked tribe folk. Thence arose the violation, thence arose the first destruction. Thence came all the evil doings, from the neighbourhood of wizards, from the home of the magicians, from the eaves of vicious spirits, from the haunts of fortune-tellers, from the cabins of the witches, from the castles of Tuoni, from the bottom of Manala, from the ground with envy swollen, from ingratitude's dominions, from the rocky shoals and quicksands, from the marshes filled with danger, from the cataract's commotion, from the bear caves in the mountains, from the wolves within the thickets, from the roarings of the pine tree, from the burrows of the fox-dog, from the woodlands of the reindeer, from the eaves and Hisi hurdles, from the battles of the giants, from uncultivated pastures, from the billows of the oceans, from the streams of boiling waters, from the waterfalls of Rutja, from the limits of the storm clouds, from the pathways of the thunders, from the flashings of the lightnings, from the distant plains of Pohja, from the fatal stream and whirlpool, from the birthplace of Tuoni. Art thou coming from these places? Hast thou, evil, hastened hither, to the heart of sinless hero, to devour my guiltless body, to destroy this wisdom-singer? Get thee hence, thou dog of Lempo! Leave, thou monster from Manala! Flee from mine immortal body, leave my liver, thing of evil! In my body cease thy forging, cease this torture of my vitals! Let me rest in peace and slumber. Should I want in means efficient, should I lack the magic power to outroot thine evil genius, I shall call a better hero, call upon a higher power, to remove this dire misfortune, to annihilate this monster. I shall call the will of woman from the fields, the old-time heroes, mounted heroes from the sandhills, thus to rescue me from danger, from these pains and ceaseless tortures. If this force prove inefficient, should not drive thee from my body, come, thou forest, with thy heroes, come, ye junipers and pine trees, with your messengers of power, come, ye mountains, with your wood-nymphs, come, ye lakes, with all your mermaids, come, ye 100 ocean spearmen, come, torment this son of Hisi, come and kill this evil monster. If this call is inefficient, does not drive thee from my vitals, rise, thou ancient water-mother, with thy blue cap from the ocean, from the seas, the lakes, the rivers, bring protection to thy hero. Comfort bring, and full assistance, that I guiltless may not suffer, may not perish prematurely. Shouldst thou brave this invocation, Carpe, daughter of creation, come, thou beauteous golden maiden, oldest of the race of women, come and witness my misfortunes, come and turn away this evil, come, remove this biting torment, take away this plague of Piru. If this call be disregarded, if thou wilt not leave me guiltless, Ukko, on the arch of heaven, in the thundercloud dominions, come thou quickly, thou art needed, come, protect thy tortured hero, drive away this magic demon, banish ever his enchantment with his sword and flaming furnace, with his fire-enkindling bellows. Go, thou demon, hence to wander, flee, thou plague of Northland heroes, never come again for shelter, never more build thou thy dwelling in the body of Wipunen. Take at once thy habitation to the regions of thy kindred, to thy distant fields and firesides, when thy journey thou hast ended, gained the borders of thy country, gained the meads of thy Creator. Give a signal of thy coming, rumble like the peals of thunder, glisten like the gleam of lightning. Knock upon the outer portals, enter through the open windows, glide about the many chambers, seize the host and seize the hostess. Knock their evil beads together, wring their necks and hurl their bodies to the black dogs of the forest. Should this prove of little value, hover like the bird of battle o'er the dwellings of the master, scare the horses from the mangers, from the troughs affright the cattle, twist their tails and horns and forelocks, hurl their carcasses to Lempo. If some scourge the winds have sent me on the air of springtide, brought me by the frosts of winter, quickly journey whence thou camest, on the air path of the heavens, perching not upon some aspen, resting not upon the birch tree. Fly away to copper mountains, that the copper winds may nurse thee, waves of ether thy protection. Didst those come from high Jumala? From the hems of ragged snow clouds, quick ascend beyond the cloud space, quickly journey whence thou camest. To the snow clouds, crystal sprinkled, to the twinkling stars of heaven, there thy fire may burn forever, there may flash thy forked lightnings in the sun's undying furnace. Wert thou sent here by the spring floods, driven here by river torrents, quickly journey whence thou camest, quickly hasten to the waters, to the borders of the rivers, to the ancient water mountain, that the floods again may rock thee, and thy water mother nurse thee. Didst thou come from Kalma's kingdom, from the castles of the Deathland? Haste thou back to thine own country, to the Kalma halls and castles, to the fields with envy swollen, where contending armies perish. Art thou from the Hisi woodlands, from ravines in Lempo's forest, from the thickets of the pine wood, from the dwellings of the fir glen? Quick retrace thine evil footsteps to the dwellings of thy master, to the thickets of thy kindred. There thou mayest dwell at pleasure till thy house decays about thee, till thy walls shall mould and crumble. Evil genius, thee I banish. Get thee hence, thou horrid monster, to the caverns of the white bear, to the deep abysm of serpents, to the vales and swamps and fenlands, to the ever-silent waters, to the hot springs of the mountains, to the dead seas of the Northland, to the lifeless lakes and rivers, to the sacred stream and whirlpool. Shouldst thou find no place of resting, I will banish thee still farther, to the Northland's distant borders, to the broad expanse of Lapland, to the ever-lifeless deserts, to the unproductive prairies, sunless, moonless, starless, lifeless, in the dark abyss of Northland. This for thee a place befitting, pitch thy tents and feast forever on the dead plains of Pohjola. Shouldst thou find no means of living, I will banish thee still farther, to the cataract of Rutja, to the fire-emitting whirlpool, where the firs are ever falling, to the windfalls of the forest. Swim hereafter in the waters of the fire-emitting whirlpool, whirl thou ever in the current of the cataract's commotion, in its foam and boiling waters. Should this place be unbefitting, I will drive thee farther onward, to Tuoni's coal-black river, to the endless stream of Mana, where thou shalt forever linger. Thou canst never leave Manala. Should I not thy head deliver? Should I never pay thy ransom? Thou canst never safely journey through 9 brother rams abutting, through 9 brother bulls opposing, through 9 brother stallions thwarting. Thou canst not recross Death River, thickly set with iron netting, interlaced with threads of copper. Shouldst thou ask for steeds for saddle, shouldst thou need a fleet-foot courser, I will give thee worthy racers, I will give thee saddle-horses. Evil Hisi has a charger, crimson mane and tail and foretop, fire emitting from his nostrils, as he prances through his pastures. Hoofs are made of strongest iron, legs are made of steel and copper, quickly scales the highest mountains, darts like lightning through the valleys, when a skilful master rides him. Should this steed be insufficient, I will give thee Lempo's snowshoes, give thee Hisi's shoes of elmwood, give to thee the staff of Piru, that with these thou mayest journey into Hisi's courts and castles, to the woods and fields of Juutas. If the rocks should rise before thee, dash the flinty rocks in pieces, hurl the fragments to the heavens. If the branches cross thy pathway, make them turn aside in greeting. If some mighty hero hail thee, hurl him headlong to the woodlands. Hasten hence, thou thing of evil, heinous monster, leave my body, ere the breaking of the morning, ere the sun awakes from slumber, ere the sinning of the cuckoo. Haste away, thou plague of Northland, haste along the track of moonbeams, wander hence, forever wander to the darksome fields of Pohja. If at once thou dost not leave me, I will send thee eagle's talons, send to thee the beaks of vultures, to devour thine evil body, hurl thy skeleton to Hisi. Much more quickly cruel Lempo left my vitals when commanded, when I called the aid of Ukko, called the help of my Creator. Flee, thou motherless offendant, flee, thou fiend of Sariola, flee, thou hound without a master, ere the morning sun arises, ere the moon withdraws to slumber. Wainamoinen, ancient hero, speaks at last to old Wipunen. Satisfied am I to linger in these old and spacious caverns, pleasant here my home and dwelling, For my meat I have thy tissues, have thy heart and spleen and liver. For my drink the blood of ages, goodly home for Wainamoinen. I shall set my forge and bellows deeper, deeper in thy vitals. I shall swing my heavy hammer, swing it with a greater power on thy heart and lungs and liver. I shall never, never leave thee till I learn thine incantations, learn thy many wisdom sayings, learn the lost words of the Master. Never must these words be bidden, earth must never lose this wisdom, though the wisdom singers perish. Old Wipunen, wise magician, ancient prophet, filled with power, opens full his store of knowledge, lifts the covers from his cases, filled with old-time incantations, filled with songs of times primeval, filled with ancient wit and wisdom, sings the very oldest folk songs, sings the origin of witchcraft, sings of earth and its beginning, sings the first of all creations, sings the source of good and evil, sung alas by youth no longer, only sung in part by heroes in these days of sin and sorrow. Evil days our land befallen. Sings the orders of enchantment, how, upon the will of Ukko, by command of the Creator, how the air was first divided, how the water came from ether, how the earth arose from water, how from earth came vegetation, fish and fowl and man and hero. Sings again the wise Wipunen how the moon was first created, how the sun was set in heaven, whence the colors of the rainbow, whence the ether's crystal pillars, how the skies with stars were sprinkled. Then again sings wise Wipunen, sings in miracles of concord, sings in magic tones of wisdom. Never was there heard such singing. Songs he sings in countless numbers, swift his notes as tongues of serpents. All the distant hills re-echo. Sings one day and then a second, sings a third from dawn till evening, sings from evening till the morning. Listen all the stars of heaven, and the moon stands still and listens. Fall the waves upon the deep sea, in the bay the tides cease rising, stop the rivers in their courses, stops the waterfall of Rutja. Even Jordan ceases flowing, and the Woxen stops and listens. When the ancient Wainamoinen well had learned the magic sayings, learned the ancient songs and legends, learned the words of ancient wisdom, learned the lost words of the Master, well had learned the secret doctrine, he prepared to leave the body of the wisdom bard Wipunen, leave the bosom of the Master, leave the wonderful enchanter. Spake the hero Wainamoinen, "O thou Antero Wipunen, open wide thy mouth and fauces. I have found the magic lost words. I will leave thee now forever, leave thee and thy wondrous singing, will return to Kalevala, to Wainola's fields and firesides." Thus Wipunen spake in answer, "Many are the things I've eaten, eaten bear and elk and reindeer, eaten ox and wolf and wild boar, eaten man and eaten hero. Never, never have I eaten such a thing as Wainamoinen. Thou hast found what thou desirest, found the 3 words of the Master. Go in peace, and ne'er returning take my blessing on thy going." Thereupon the bard Wipunen opens wide his mouth and wider, and the good old Wainamoinen straightway leaves the wise enchanter, leaves Wipunen's great abdomen. From the mouth he glides and journeys o'er the hills and vales of Northland, swift as red deer o'er the forest, swift as yellow-breasted marten, to the firesides of Wainola, to the plains of Kalevala. Straightway hastes he to the smithy of his brother Ilmarinen. Thus the iron artist greets him: "Hast thou found the long-lost wisdom? Hast thou heard the secret doctrine? Hast thou learned the master magic, how to fasten in the ledges, how the stern should be completed, how complete the ship's forecastle?" Wainamoinen thus made answer: "I have learned of words 100, learned 1,000 incantations, hidden deep for many ages, learned the words of ancient wisdom, found the keys of secret doctrine, found the lost words of the Master." Wainamoinen, magic builder, straightway journeys to his vessel, to the spot of magic labor, quickly fastens in the ledges, firmly binds the stern together and completes the boat's forecastle. Thus the ancient Wainamoinen built the boat with magic only, and with magic launched his vessel, using not the hand to touch it, using not the foot to move it, using not the knee to turn it, using nothing to propel it. Thus the third task was completed, for the hostess of Pohjola, dowry for the Maid of Beauty sitting on the arch of heaven, on the bow of many colours. End of Rune 17.